The documentary opens with the production and distribution company, with the score coming in straight away. The montage of newspaper headlines to follow is impactful and suggests the failure of the culmination theory, as all of the different ideas presented by the government through the newspaper headlines have in fact confused the public. The title of Factual is a pun on facts and factual, suggesting a corruption of the true facts.
The current dietary guidelines in the UK are actually a root cause driving the epidemics of obesity and type 2 diabetes.
The opening statement from Dr. Aseem Malhotra introduces the audience to the fundamental idea of our documentary, that government health advice has, ironically, had an adverse effect on the health of the nation.
I do feel really confused. I don't feel like there's enough information available.
Oh, I have no idea. That's why I don't get confused, because I don't know what it is.
I think the government wants us to have like a balanced meal because he doesn't want like the whole country eating just fats because it's not good for you.
Quite often you hear conflicting advice, or there's advice at one period of time and then a few years later people have a different opinion.
Interviewing the public through these vox pops is effective in creating personal identity with the audience, allowing them to relate. Asking all age groups, including the children, shows how everyone is confused by the topic. The lighting on the final vox pop is not very good, and we should have checked this when filming, as when we came to edit we found it difficult to work with.
Unfortunately, we're not a particularly healthy nation, and the reason for this is just very stark in the statistics when we look at obesity. 60% of the adult UK population are now overweight or obese, and by the time they leave primary school, 1 in 3 children, which is more worrying, are also overweight or obese.
Shots of the restaurant are effective in helping the audience to visualise the topic and relate to it, as these places are places where they will have been to, and give the audience the gratification of entertainment. However, perhaps it would have been more relevant if we had included only fast food places. The reverse shots create a cinematic effect, however we overused this effect, which ended up not being very effective.
We are now in a situation where this may be the first generation where parents outlive their children. For many years we have linked saturated fat with heart disease specifically, because of an understanding that, based upon old studies, that there was a correlation between the consumption of saturated fat, increase in cholesterol, leading to heart disease.
The montage shots show the doctor at work, which adds gravitas to what he is saying. Including a B-roll also makes the documentary much more entertaining for the audience, especially as he is speaking for a long period of time. The different shots and angles are important in keeping the audience engaged.
But correlation doesn't mean causation. And now when we've looked at that data again, we've realised that some of that old data was selective, so missed out things that contradicted that particular hypothesis.
Aseem's interview was key in stating the facts, and he purposefully comes first in the documentary, as he sounds like he knows what he is talking about, which will immediately engage the audience. This satisfies our sophisticated audience's highest need on Maslow's hierarchy for knowledge and questioning. The use of the time-lapse is effective in creating a cinematic look. However, we need more variety in our shots to create a truly cinematic piece, which would be more suited to a film festival exhibition than a TV exhibition.
There is some debate at the moment in the world of science about the macronutrient composition of foods and what's most effective for weight loss.
Dimpner speaks for a much shorter length of time in comparison to Dr. Aseem Malhotra, which suggests a Marxist reading that what she has to say is not as important as the superior male middle-class doctor.
Comments such as eating fat doesn't make you fat, I think can be very misleading.
The time-lapse of the drive-through followed by Praj eating the burger is successful in illustrating what we are discussing, and again allows the audience to relate and place themselves in the position of myself and Praj.
As I got into my early 20s, I started to gain a bit of weight and I edged into a size 18, which was only one size more than the national average, so I wasn't too concerned about it for a little while. And then as those clothes started to get a little tight, I got concerned and I looked at weight loss programs. And I tried increasing my exercise, I tried Weight Watchers for a little while, and then I eventually found a lot more success by following Slimming World.
Again, the use of montage shots to directly illustrate what Renata is saying in the interview is effective. However, the fact that she speaks for a much shorter period of time, again, than the doctor, confirms and marks this reading. The use of 2 more time lapses suggests a lack in creativity and variety.
Common sense approach or principles would be to ensure that you're as active as you possibly can and to eat as healthily as you can while still enjoying food. And I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of trying some extreme methods when the healthy eating messages, watching portion sizes, and keeping an eye on the intake of calorie-dense foods is really important.
Dimpner's concluding comments leave the conclusion of the documentary wide open. She merely recommends a common sense approach, which most people are already aware of, and therefore this could be a bit condescending for our active audience.
I think there needs to be more openness and transparency about what information is available.
Try not to eat too much processed food, definitely. I always cook everything from scratch as well.
I found it quite a challenge, quite a change from what I had been eating, which was obviously a good thing in the long run, because I'd seemingly been eating the wrong things before, without knowing it.
Renata's concluding comments highlight her position of a cliché within our documentary to appeal to our secondary audience of 16 to 19-year-olds. Placing her in the middle of the vox pop suggests that she is on par with the public in terms of knowledge, rather than equal with a nutritionist and cardiologist.
You have to have some fat, but not like loads.
I think everything in moderation seems like a sensible course of action.
The vox pops will represent the views of the audience watching. The man says everything in moderation. There is a suggestion that everybody does their best to eat a balanced diet without following one piece of advice too religiously.
Eating fat is about as likely to make you fat as eating green vegetables is to turn you green.
Asim's final statement adds a slightly comedic element to the documentary, which detracts slightly from the dramatic tone which we have presented in our poster and radio advert. However, it also provides comic relief from the otherwise serious and intense topic discussed. As our audience are a sophisticated, active audience, they might take a negotiated reading through reception analysis of the messages given within the documentary, for instance, that fats are not bad for you, and interpret the information to apply it to their own lifestyle.